Hey everybody, welcome back to Monday with Molly. I'm here with Molly Dean with Leader One Financial. I'm her loan partner, Andrew Kosman. Every week we're going to talk a little bit about the mortgage process and some normal questions that we get throughout the course of a loan pre-approval, application, and eventually getting people closed. Today I wanted to ask you, if I've had a bankruptcy, can I still buy a house?
You can.
Okay.
There's some waiting periods, but yes, yeah, you can.
So what if I had a bankruptcy and a foreclosure? Can I still buy a house?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it matter what kind of bankruptcy I've had?
So the waiting period is different on the type of bankruptcy. So, and it's different based on the type of loan. But there is two types of bankruptcies that we consider. A Chapter 13, which is a bankruptcy with which you make payments to the court. So you go into bankruptcy, you set up a payment arrangement, and you may make that payment for 5 years. Once that bankruptcy is discharged, FHA will let you buy the day after your discharge on
What
a
about
Chapter 13.
conventional?
Conventional has a longer waiting period.
Okay.
On a Chapter 7, that's where you don't make any payments. The court discharges you of all your debts. FHA makes you wait 2 years. Conventional makes you wait 4.
Gotcha.
Now, there are always extenuating circumstances.
Absolutely, yeah. And you said something about a bankruptcy being discharged. So, common misconception, just because you filed a bankruptcy and the court accepted whatever type of bankruptcy you went with, that doesn't necessarily mean it's been discharged, correct?
Correct. Generally, like on a Chapter 7, if you file bankruptcy in April, your discharge is 3 or 4 months later. That's after it goes to court and the judges approve the discharge. You'll receive a discharge paper. You're eligible the day after the discharge.
Gotcha.
So,
whereas on the discharge on the 13 you were talking about that has kind of a stretched out payment plan to it, that discharge is going to be much later in the process.
it is, because you've structured an arrangement. It's like making a payment on your house or your car or something like that. Whatever your term is, you've set an agreement that says, I'm going to pay X amount of dollars to the court for this number of years. So as long as you make your payments on time, they will discharge you at the very end, and the debts, you'll be released from any additional debts as long as you make your payments on time.
Excellent. And then as far as wrapping up your home in foreclosure as part of a bankruptcy, does that have its own kind of set of rules to it?
It does. This is where it gets a little cloudy.
Mm-hmm.
So foreclosure on a government loan, FHA, is 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
VA is 2, and conventional is 7. From the sheriff's deed date, that's the date that your house is taken from you. When the sheriff has come in and said, this house is no longer yours, okay? Just because you file bankruptcy on March of this year and is discharged in April of this year, that doesn't mean that your foreclosure was completed. Sometimes the foreclosure deed date is after that.
Sure.
There's things called reaffirmation of debt. So if you reaffirm your mortgage, that's all going to play differently into that. So it gets a little cloudy and sticky.
And when it comes to those legal items, obviously that's best talked about with the attorney, obviously, but the long and short of this is, just because you've had a foreclosure a couple years ago or a bankruptcy a couple years ago doesn't mean you're banned from getting a home mortgage. You know, a lot of people still think the waiting period is 10 years or a full 7 regardless of the program. So if that's something maybe stopping someone from shopping, or a client has told maybe one of our agents, hey, I can't buy for another 2 or 3 years because of bankruptcy, it's something we definitely want to take a look at, and something you should obviously research for yourself as well. So,
well, and the extenuating circumstances out there too. So even though there are standard guidelines for timelines, there's always the extenuating circumstance. So when we do an application and someone has unfortunately had hiccups in the past as such, we want to make sure we're asking all those questions to determine if they meet the qualifications of an extenuating circumstance or pair them best to the program that works.
Yeah, a case-by-case scenario, that is always great, a good conversation that we like to have with every single applicant in that situation, because you're right, sometimes there's a loophole that you can get through that breaks you from the norm.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
That's all I had for you today, Molly, so thanks for
Easy.
sitting down with me. Thanks everybody, have a great week.
Happy Monday.